On a busy Thursday afternoon. Nice to have you with us as we chat to you about what's going on in the world of sports. Quick little potpourri. Danny Hurley takes the Connecticut job, 6-year contract for Hurley, leaves Rhode Island. No argument about leaving Rhode Island. Was there a long time? You're not winning championships at Rhode Island. You can have NCAA tournament teams. You can win a game or so occasionally in the tournament, but you're not going to get the good enough player to win an NCAA championship at Rhody, barring a miracle. So from that perspective, I can get it. I understand. Rhode Island's a small little school in Kingston, Rhode Island, not too far from Newport. I mean, listen, I like the campus. I've been there. Newport's a great place. If you're not familiar with Newport, Rhode Island, it's a beautiful little town. But, I mean, I can understand why Hurley decides to go in a different direction. I don't know why he wouldn't wait for a better job, though. I am not big on UConn myself. UConn hired him, gave him a 6-year deal. Now, UConn, they've won championships, so you understand that. They have only won championships. I think the last year they may have been an AIC team with Ollie, but they were with, obviously, Calhoun players, and he coached in the Big East. The conference is atrocious. I don't think you can win necessarily out of that conference anymore. It's much harder to recruit when your big rivalry is UCF and East Carolina. They don't play in the Big East. They don't play in the ACC. They're not going to go to the Big East anytime soon. The ACC will not have them. The Big Ten will not have them. Their football team is not big enough and good enough for either one of those two school programs, those Power Fives. I don't love the job. I understand it's a better job than Rhode Island, and I don't know if I take the Pitt job either, but I do not like the UConn job. I think that's way past its prime. I'm going to have to see UConn on a year-to-year basis, not once in a while. I'm going to have to see UConn on a year-to-year basis go out there and compete for national titles in that AIC. Now, listen, you're going to tell me that Cincinnati does it. You're going to tell me that Wichita State does it or will be able to do it. Remember, Wichita State's coming from the Missouri Valley to the AIC. It's a move up. Cincinnati was not, they were in the Big East, but Cincinnati was not your typical Big East program a la Connecticut and Villanova and St. John's and Georgetown and Providence. They were not on that level. Cincinnati came into the Big East late. They made a great contribution, don't get me wrong, and Cincinnati had fun, but Cincinnati, it's different. Plus, they got a good basketball heritage there. We all know that. Championships, Oscar Robertson, and, of course, they got Xavier right there in a small little town. I don't look at it as the same way. Cincinnati's had success out of the AIC. Why can't UConn? I don't look at it as the same thing, so I don't love the move as far as Hurley is concerned. That's item number one. Giants today traded Jason Pierre-Paul. They traded him to Tampa. I think they got a third-round pick out of it. I think they may have switched to fourth-round picks, and they got a third-round pick. Little surprised. People had not seen this trade coming. It might tell you something about Chubb, the kid out of NC State, that maybe they want to draft him with that pick. It might be, let's face it, he's not been the same player after he had the July 4th incident. And Paul, he's a little erratic. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't think that the Giants are. I don't think the Giants are drafting a quarterback with this pick. I really don't. The tea leaves are on the wall for me. I just don't think. I think maybe they like Darnold better than anybody else, and Darnold's going to go to the Browns. Looks like. I don't think they feel that Manning is shot. I think they think he's got a couple of years left in him with a new coach. I think they feel they can trade down and still get their defensive linemen, and they can garner some extra picks. Maybe they soured on Paul to a degree. I think there's a lot of ways you can look at this one from a Giant perspective, but I think the move is still, to me, that they are not going to draft a quarterback, and this would solidify that thought, because obviously Chubb is a guy that they will have control of the draft. They can draft him at the second. They can trade down to 5 with Denver if Denver wanted to move up and draft him at that number. I mean, they can, as long as they stay ahead of the Colts, they can draft Chubb. And if they want Barkley, he's still sitting there too. So the Giants trade Jason Pierre-Paul today. For what it's worth, you keep that under advisement. There's nothing that you need to know that much about in baseball. The season begins next week. Stanton did tell everybody that he can't wait to get started as far far as the season is concerned. He's looking forward to what is happening with opening day. He thinks he can handle New York and all the attention that it brings. That remains to be seen. And Souza got hurt, by the way. I don't know if that came down yet or how serious it is. He's the he's the right fielder for Arizona who, I guess, a full-out dive. I didn't see a highlight of it. He hurt his shoulder. They called it a strain last night. I don't know what the diagnosis was today. They need him in a worse way. Souza's going to replace J.D. Martinez, an injury that you got to keep an eye on as far as the Arizona Diamondbacks are concerned. I don't have the answer for you on it right now, but that is something you keep an eye on. So that's essentially, and you got the games today. The first game begins in 2 hours at the Phillips down in Atlanta. They are not playing at the Georgia Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is better. The arena is better, and it's Loyola in Nevada today. Steve can tell us all about it sometime tomorrow. Meanwhile, we'll get your calls in as we have some fun here. We finally figured out this match play scenario after I buried it and couldn't figure out why McElroy is playing today. I thought it was a knockout pool. Well, they went to round robin, so I screwed that up. So we got that straightened out finally. Andrew is in Central Connecticut, and he's with us. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Andrew, good afternoon. How are you today? What do you have for me?
Hey, Doug. Just wanted to add to a few additional observations on the match play. And I'm sort of lucky enough to sort of know some agents and players on tour. But the big reason for the change was, I think a couple of people highlighted this, is the fact that no one wanted to go and play one match and be done. I think the other thing is now that with the date moved to now be 2 weeks before the Masters, that sort of reinforces the fact that players want 3 or 4 rounds. But I'm with you in terms of this used to be one of my favorite events earlier in the season, where it was a true knockout. You don't even have true match play is the game. The match doesn't end until someone's won, and now all of these matches are limited to 18 holes, and you potentially have ties. So it's disappointing because for me it used to be one of the great events on the calendar.
Good point, Andrew. Good call. You're right. When they play a round robin, they are not going to sit there and play out a opening round match and go 23 holes. And so you're going to each get a half a point. So, listen, I'm not in favor of it. I think the one thing that people don't realize who aren't a member of a club and who don't play golf on a country club level, and I'm not talking about somebody just running off, to Beth Page on Saturday mornings. I think people don't realize this because I didn't realize it. When you play golf and you go play in, member guests and all these kinds of things, and you go play in an event at a nice place, it's nothing to do with stroke play. It's all match play. You get your handicap. You play against the best ball. Say you play in a foursome. Say your partner is a 14 handicap and you're a 16 handicap, and the 2 guys you're playing against, one's a 7 and one's a 17. You play against the 7, meaning that me in that scenario, if I'm a 16 handicap and my opponent's a 7, he's got to give me 9 strokes. So on the 9 toughest holes of the golf course, he's got to give me a stroke on that hole. Match play is where all tournaments are played in golf on country club. When I play in these 4 or 5 or 3-day events or 2-day events, it's all about match play. I could go out there and shoot in 76. If I hit a bad shot at the wrong time, I could lose. It's as simple as that. Because you don't play the ball out anyway. Everybody gives you putts. It's a completely different situation. It's a different level of golf. And that's why this tournament's a little different, because it's you against the opponent. It's not you, basically against the course. It's a little opponent aspect to it. So I think they lose a little of that when they make it a round robin. So I do agree. Dan on Long Island's aboard, and he's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Danny, good afternoon. How are you today? He dropped, all right? Eddie didn't check the call because Eddie's making sure the 620 works to Massapequa tonight. Here is Matt in Philadelphia, and he's with us here on Mad Dog Unleashed. Matthew, welcome. How are you today, pal?
Hey, doggy. Thanks for having me. Yesterday, my snow day, I was watching the 30 for 30 Requiem for the Big East. I just look at what's going on with the Pitt coaching situation. They can't even hire sister whatever from Loyola Chicago to get that job. I mean, no one wants that job. And you look at these schools that when they left the Big East, they fell apart. You know, Boston College, look at their basketball program now. I mean, it's just a shame. And I put it as a precursor because Villanova this year, 32-4, whatever their record was, right? Look at the Big East now. Xavier just lost. That Big East was a joke this year. Okay, everyone thought it was going to be great. It's a joke. So Villanova has a skewed record, in my opinion.
Well, you're right.
Go up against.
Yeah, I mean, Creighton lost to Kansas State. Butler lost second round at Purdue without their best player.
Providence lost the first round.
Providence lost to a good team, but they lost to Texas A&M. Xavier gets knocked out in the second round as a 1 seed. I'm trying to think who else made it. Xavier, Butler, Providence, Creighton. I'm missing 3 schools. But overall, you are 100% right. If you look at the round of 16, and good call, if you look at the round of 16, there is only 1 team left. Is that right? Out of the Big East. Correct. 1 team. And that's Villanova. Well, the other 3 teams in the Big East, Providence lost, Creighton lost, Xavier lost, Butler lost. That's 5. Seton Hall won a round, had a pretty good tournament, but they lost. That is 6. There's 1 more. Which else? I don't remember which one it was. There's 1 other Big East team that made the tournament. I don't know if they made if they got out of the first round. There's 1 other Big East team. Steve Story can tell us a little later on. And we're going to talk to Ian Eagle in a sec. He's got the region in Boston. We continue here on Mad Dog.